Hi everyone. Class. Apologies again for the delay. Last session we discussed other clauses in SQL such as having. We also discussed what is the difference between having clause and during clause. For example, we used where before aggregation and having after aggregation, right? So after we moved our data. And we had also several example queries and hands-on examples, and we finished the session with explaining joins, right? So when do we need to use join? Yes?
Or you want to connect data from one table to the table to
that is correct. Not complete, yes, but that is correct. So when you want to get data from more than one table, and often, so if you want to get data from, let's say, 2 tables, there should be a link between the tables, right? And often, as your friend said, that links to a foreign key. And did you have a question that you want to add?
No.
Okay. So, and then, should we always join tables using foreign keys, or can we use other colors? And if yes, what other color can we use to join tables? Yes?
You can use another column as long as it has like the same type of data but different name. For example, we did the employee and manager, so the manager could be in like the organization table, but it's still an employee, so it has a different attribute but the same data, so you can like
Yes, exactly. So sometimes 2 tables have more than one common attribute. So we can connect them as much as they have common attributes, right? If there are 3 common attributes between 2 tables, then there are 3 different ways to join them. In our example with the staff table and organization table, we had two common attributes. One of them was the foreign key, of course, and the other one was staff ID, which was basically the same as manager in the other table. And so far, the way that I explained join was using comma, right? So we said, I really value your opinion, and every time I want to write on the board, I want to use this one, but I honestly don't know how I have to use this. And I'm afraid if I use this, because in the setting for recording, one setting is for this one, which is not selected now. I selected the camera there. So if I want to select this, I have to switch back and forth between these 2. So I have to figure out a way. I will ask the IT, because I think I have to decide either to stick with the blackboard or this one. If I want to write here so that we can better see with better quality, I don't have to use that camera, and I don't know then how can I capture that. Okay, I'll figure it out. But I just wanted to let you know it's not that I don't care about what you said, just didn't figure out how to do it yet. So for joining tables, one way was you again write select, right? And select whatever column you want to get from both tables, or maybe a star if you want to get everything. So you write columns here from, and let's say you want to join 2 tables, right? From table 1, table 2. So this is one way without explicitly mentioning the phrase join. And then in this case, for example, you want to select some column from staff organization, if these are your 2 tables in the example we have in the slides, where now here comes the join condition. That is where the 2 columns have shared values, right, or similar same values. Now this often is through the foreign keys. That is, for example, there is foreign key in one table, which is actually the primary key in the other table. Either this is the case, for example, from staff, organization, where the staff does, for example, department number is equal to organization department number, right? Because department number in both the staff or employee and organization table is the same thing. So that's one way. Some tables, similar to the example we have more than one common attribute that is their foreign keys. They may have another common attribute. For example, we had a staff ID in the staff table, which was the same as manager ID in the organization table, right? So in that case, you can also, if I want to write it like in more general way, this instead of foreign key could be, let's say, column that is common between these two, right? For example, let's say C1 is staff ID, C2 is manager ID, and they both refer to the same ID, right? So this is method 1 to join tables. The second method was explicitly using the phrase, the word join. So you write again select, right? And then you select any column that you want from, let's say, table 1, and now I use the word join, right? Table 2. So from table 1, join table 2. And when you use this, instead of where, you use on, right? You join on, for example, T1 dot column 1 is T2 dot C2. Where C1, C2 could refer to primary key, foreign key, right? Or could refer to any other common attribute between these two tables. And then if you have other conditions, you can add. So as you see here, tables are usually, not always, joined through the link of foreign keys. And we've seen these examples. And sometimes, so for example, this is the join using where, so method 1, right, from two tables, from the course table and instructor table. So I want to select, for example, course code, course name, instructor name from like these two tables. To keep things more simple and easier to read, you can give like these tables alias name, right? For example, course as C, instructors I, where C that instructor ID is equal to I instructor ID. Now these two tables are joined through the link of foreign key, right? Because instructor ID is a foreign key in the course table. So this was one way to join, let's say, two tables. Now, joining three tables, and sometimes this is not very clear. So if you just look at this example, for example, it asks for course code, course name, and student name. So you may think, okay, course code and name are in the course table, a student name is in the student table, so you may need to join two tables. But you cannot, right? Because there is no common link between these two tables. These two tables are joined through another intermediary tables because there were many relationships between them, right? Each student can enroll in multiple courses. Each course can have multiple students enrolled in that course. And because there wasn't many relationship, there was another third table enrollment between these two tables. And we had to join three tables, right? From course, enrollment, student. So once we have to connect course to enrollment, and the other time we have to connect or join a student to enrollment, right? How can we do that? Again, through the common field or common attribute, right? For example, course code is the common attribute between enrollment and course, and a student ID is the common attribute between a student table and enrollment table. Now, so this is joining two tables. You can extend it to 3, 4, or how many tables that you want, right? So the formula is remain the same. So if you want to join three tables, right? Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you just use and to join these tables. So the one thing to be careful about is if the same name, same column name, is used in two tables, you have to specify which table it is from. So you see here, for example, when you want to write the join condition between, for example, the course table and enrollment table, you write where course, that course code, is equal to enrollment that course code. This is true also in the select statement. Okay, so in the select statement, now course code is only in the course table, right? So we don't need to mention course code in the select part, right? Similarly, course name is only in the course table, so we don't need to specify that. But if there is a column that is in the like both tables, you have to specify. And I think we have example with that, like here, right? For example, select course course code, right? Because here course code exists in more than one table. Course name is fine because course name is only in the course table. A student name, again, fine. And you don't need to worry about that. When you write it in SQL, you will see that curly red line, and then you will, this is a hint that you have to specify the table, right? So we practice this. Now, this is joining 4 or more tables. So as I mentioned, the formula remains the same. Still select all the columns that you want from, let's say, 4 tables. Here we need course table, we need student table because of the student name. We also need the enrollment table because there is no direct link between a student and course. And we also need a fourth table, which is instructor, because we need instructor name, right? Because we asked out by Mona, and this information is in the instructor table. So that is why we are joining 4 tables. How do we do that? Simple, like this. And then for the first table, you use the word clause and the join condition. And for the subsequent tables, you just can use and, right? For example, and joining a student with enrollment, and joining course with instructor, and so on. And again, you can now better realize why ER modeling is very important. And understanding conceptual modeling is like with you always, even in your queries when you join tables, right? If you don't know which tables are connected together, how can you answer these queries, right? If you don't know, there should be an enrollment between a student and course, right? If you just have an incorrect model with, let's say, a student and course, right? And instead of connecting instructor to the course table, you don't connect it to the course. Like in practice, instructor could also be connected to the student. If you want to see, for example, if instructors could have advisory roles, right? For example, each prof or each instructor can supervise a student. But let's say our assumption is with that simple example, and we only need to know, let's say this is only for teaching, and we only want to see who is the instructor of, for example, each course. So if your model is not correct, like this, right, how do you know, how can you join these tables, right? For instance, for this query, listing course code name and student name, you may not use the enrollment table, right? And similarly here, you may not know what is the common field between, like, for example, a student and instructor in course, right? So knowing which, for example, especially when you're joining 3, 4 or more tables, knowing which tables you have to connect at each step is important. And that is just reflecting how well you know the conceptual model. And do you have any questions? No? This is just showing how these tables can be joined through different links. And I showed you also with these different examples. For example from the organization and staff table. So I'm skipping this because I already explained this in previous session, right? So this is joining through department number, through the foreign key. This is how we join them. And another way was to to join them through another common field, which was manager ID, right? Just to save time, I'm skipping this because we already explained this before. And I think I already explained this example, right? Yeah, this manager's name for each division and each department, and then I was explaining because we need division information, we need to access data from more than one table because division was in the organization table. So we know that we have to connect a staff with organization or join them. Now this is another way of joining. So we already answered this query using this method, and here, as I mentioned in the slide, this is another way to answer example 1. Both queries return the same result, right? So there is no difference if you use this method or the method in the slide. And so these are like these two examples. The first one, joining two tables using a common field or column which is not a foreign key, right? For example, in the organization and the staff table, that column was a staff ID, right? Staff ID, manager ID was a common field between the two tables, and they were not foreign to primary key. And the reason I included these two examples in this slide is just because I want to show you how the result is different if you join tables based on different common attributes, right? So, and this is important to know when to use one. And there isn't a formula that I tell you. You have to understand the question, practice with different questions to see where you have to, for example, use each common attribute. For example, in this example, I think for the first one, where we join tables using a staff ID, manager ID, which were not the foreign key, the question was finding manager's name for each division and each department, right? And then we had another example 1, I guess. Example 1, right? Finding people with job type as manager in each department, in each division, right? So you have to go back to your table. So in the staff table, we had a staff ID, we had a staff name, department number. Let me also show it here so we don't have to go back. So this is the staff table, right? The staff ID, the staff name, and department number, job years, and so on. And then the second table was organization table with department number, name, department number, department name, and manager ID, division, and so on. So this was the primary key here, and this was the primary key here. Now there are, as you see, there are two common attributes between these two tables. One is department number, right, which is a foreign key here, and is primary key here. Another common attribute is a staff ID. A staff ID and manager ID, right? So manager ID is not a foreign key. It's just a common attribute with the staff ID, and that was another way. And we had two examples where we use these different joins, and I just want to show you what is the difference. So, in the first example, we asked finding employees or people with job type as manager in each department, each division, and we joined tables using department number. Now, here is the question. Why couldn't we join tables using staff ID instead of like the staff department number equals organization department number? Why we cannot write there the staff ID is equal to organization manager ID?
Repeat the question again.
Yes, so we want to find, let's go to SQL. I think that would be more helpful here. So until it is loaded, the question was finding employees with job type as manager, right? And these are your tables. So where can you find job type manager? In the staff table, right? Because this is the job type. For example, you can see some employees are managers. So we want to find people with job type as manager in each department and each division. So again, department number exists in this table. So far, everything is in the staff table, but because we also need in each division, right? So we need to join these two tables. And I said there are two ways to join these two tables, right? You can join them using foreign key, which is like 99% of times. But you can also join them using another comment field, and that comment field is the staff ID, manager ID, right? So why can't we use that one? So as you see here, I use the staff department number is equal to organization department number. So I'm joining them using that. And I can also show you here if that helps, right? So finding people with this job type, right, in each department, and then finding those departments in the organization table, because we also want the division, right? That's why we use join between these two tables. Is this clear now? Why? I think your faces doesn't seem that it is clear. So is it clear or not? Do you really understand? Because in the exam, this will be your problem. Okay? It's easy to write. If I tell you join these two tables using these two columns, the syntax is easy, right? What you need to understand is when to use, for example, which common attribute, especially if you have more than one common attribute. So here, if this question is in your exam, or similar question, one struggle for some students is that they don't know whether they have to join by department number or whether they have to join tables using staff ID, manager ID. So that was basically my question. Do you know why we use department number here? What if I join them using the other column? What if I join them using, so let's write both. Let's keep tables here. Now we select what column. So let's say here select division department name staff. Let's write that tables first from staff. Name. Should I specify which column? Should I specify which column is the staff name from? No, because the staff name is only in the staff table, right? So select the staff name and department number, right? Because we also want to find them in each department. And we also need the division. Is division with the name division? Yeah, we have division, department number. Now, why do I have curly line for department number?
Because it's in both of them.
Because it's in both tables. So in this case, you have to specify from which table. For example, let's say you want to find it from the staff. Right? Now the curly line is resolved. And then where, let's say I'm joining them using department number first. So where staff dot department number is organization department. Right? And you can also do order by FEN. So we also want the type of the job as, let me clear this here. So if you want to like see the recording or take note, you know what. So here is finding employees with job type manager, right? In each department, in each division. Okay. So we know that we have to join tables. That is for sure. So up to here, you know what you have to write. So in your exam, you should be able to get at least partial marks, even if you don't know how to answer the query, right? Because even if you just write which columns to select, that's a partial mark. If you correctly write which tables to join, that's again another partial mark. And then using correct link is another partial mark. And the job is just managed, right? And you want. This I have to use. Yeah. So I'm actually going to so this gives us these 5 rows, right? So this gives us standards. This one, names, appeal, blue, and etc. So if you see the table here, these are exactly the exact output that you would expect, right? So for example, here you see standards with job type as manager, and then you see this one, you see this one, and this one. So there are 5 employees, and you see all these 5 employees here, right? And if I want to show you with the slide, will be this, right? So the answer is, the reason that we use this join, this link, is because we want to find job type for each department, right? So we need to connect them using the departments. Otherwise, how can you get this information in each department, right? If you join them using the staff. So let's go here. Now here I'm joining these 2 tables using the staff ID. So if you see this, so finding manager in each division. So I'm selecting again staff. Staff organization. That's why we need the management. I want also division. The manager. So I'm just going to show you. So do you see how the result is different? So when I'm joining using the staff name or a staff ID, the staff ID manager ID, when you join tables using like this link, it only shows you like these four staff names. Whereas when you join them using the department number, it retrieves all the managers in those departments. Okay? And if I show you the tables, you will see why. So here, which manager is missing here? This one, right? Here. You see? And if you see the staff, the organization table, so sorry, I also have to show you the organization table. So now you will see four tables. The first table is the staff table, original staff table. The second one is the original organization table. And then the two queries for which we use different types of join, right? So the first one is this one, right? This is the staff table. This is the organization table. Now, in the organization table, the staff ID 100 is missing, right? You don't see them here. And so that is why if you come here, right, when you join them using a staff ID or manager ID, which is the second common attribute, you don't see this one, right? So in this case, you won't get all managers in each department. Whereas if you join them using the department, right, if you join them using the department, then you get all the information that you want, right? So you have to practice with different, for example, if there are, even in the exam, if you don't know, actually, unfortunately, in the exam, you don't have a lab test. But in your practice, your own practice in the future, let's say you're working in a company, you don't know. You know what your results should look like, right? So you write a query, even if you use the incorrect link to join the tables, based on the result, you will realize that. For example, if you incorrectly use, for example, staff ID, manager ID as the link, you will see that you don't get all the manager names, right, in each department. One of them is missing. And there are, for example, these are the ways that you can realize whether your query is correct or not.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I still don't understand why we cannot see that last one when we're connecting with manager again.
Because we didn't have that staff ID in the organization table. So here, let me show you. This one, right? This is a staff ID 100, right? D38 has two managers, right? One of them is this one, right? And the other one is Lou, right? And one of them, and when you are joining using the, for example, a staff ID, because here you don't have this, right? You're joining, let me show you. You're joining using the staff ID manager ID, right? So this is how it finds the join or the links. Is there any more values? This should be based on the shared values of the two columns, right? Join is based on the shared values. So is there any more shared values if you're joining them using a staff ID and this column and manager ID? No. So you know the result is only like these four guys, right? Sanders, Maringier, I don't know how to spell that, Haynes, and Graf, right? Whereas you want to find all of them, right? You also want to get new because this is also a manager. But the other question, example 1 here, ask to find the employees with job type as manager. Job type as manager includes 5 employees, right? And you want to find them in each department, so you are joining them using the department number, right? Like this, finding people with this job type in each department. Now, does it make sense now that I have this? So you start from this, right? You say, okay, there are job type managers in the staff table in each department. So these are the departments, and these are the managers in each department. And because you need also division information, you have to join these 2 tables, right? Just to get the division. And how can you join these 2 tables? So if now you're coming to join using a staff and manager, right? You're missing some values here. Those are not the shared values to answer this query. Is this clear? Again, here, for example, ask for finding managers in each division, right? So we start from this table because we know managers in each division is in the organization table. Now we have, for example, these managers, right? And then how do we link these 2? So manager is the common attribute with the staff ID. So you join using these two links. And like in the worst case, as I mentioned, you can join using both and see how it differs. Even if you don't have access to SQL, similar to what I'm doing here, then you will see what you get, right? I'm not using SQL here. And this is another way of answering the same query, just instead of comma, I use explicit join here, right? Now, types of join. So we have different types of join. We have inner join, outer join, right and left. So the default, when you just write join, it is interpreted behave as inner join. Okay. So inner join means everything that is common between both tables, right? What was actually we were seeing so far, right? So we said, for example, when we use department number from both tables, we only selected the shared values of department number, right? The values that are equal in both tables. So that is not always the case. So sometimes you may need information from, for example, one table. Sometimes you may want from the second table. You may want from everything from both tables or only the shared values. So if it is only the shared values, then this is inner join. And in this case, it is not allowing null. And outer join, we have 3 different types. Okay, so it is either left outer join or right outer join or full outer join. Does it matter if you write left join instead of left outer? No, right? Because inner join is only one. You don't have left inner, right inner. Inner means everything that is common between both tables, so it is only one. And you can only specify join. So inner join and join are the same. Outer join has 3 types, left, right, full. You can also skip the outer word and just write left join, right join. If it is a left join, it means including all records in the left table, and I will tell you what the left table is. And for example, let's say you want to join, for example, course with the instructor. Okay, so including courses that do not have also instructor. So even if a course doesn't have an instructor, you still want to include that. Okay, so in this case, if you want to join course table, so let's keep it this example that I wrote here. Selecting course code and instructor name from course, left join instructor, and then sharing the common attribute instructor ID, right? Now, what is the left table here? If I write from course, left join instructor. So if you write, for example, select whatever, star from table 1, left join or left outer join table 2. Okay, which one is your left table? Table on the left, right? This one. So this is your join, this is right side, this is left side. So this is your left table, okay? So when I mention it, left join includes everything from the left table is this table, okay? Now, if this table is course table, so if you're writing from course, left join instructor, okay? If you type from course, left join instructor. What is your left table? Course, right? If you type from course left join instructor, your left table is course. So it means everything from the course table, right? Everything from this table, even if there is no corresponding value in the other table. That is, even if there are nulls, for example, for this value here. That means even if you have a course without instructor, okay? So if I'm asking you finding, for example, all the courses, even if there are no instructors, right? Then you know that you have to use left join using course left join instructor. Now, what if I write from instructor left join course? So instead of course left join instructor, I'm writing instructor left join course. What is the difference? Yeah. Now it means all the instructors, everything from the table on the left, in this case is instructors, so all the instructors, even if there are no corresponding values in the other table, even if those instructors are not teaching any course yet, okay? So these are different. The first one, if you write, so for inner join doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you write, for example, select whatever, right? From table 1, comma, table 2, or if you use join, right? Or you use inner join, comma, join, inner join, they are the same. And the way they work is just based on the shared values between the two tables, right? Between the common attributes of the two tables. And so join is equal to inner join, same as you use comma, right? So these are the same. Now, if I have course inner join instructor, what does it mean? If I select the star, select all the columns, from course, inner join instructor, what does that mean? Yes? Yep.
Oh, sorry, it would show the instructors who are only teaching the course.
Only instructors that are teaching courses. Does it also showing courses that have no instructors? No. Accepting no null values. So it says when I say inner join doesn't allow null, this is what I mean. So when you, and I'm going to make it actually very clear now. So let's focus on these two tables, course and instructor, okay? So there are different ways to join course with instructor. So if I write course, join instructor, is the same as if I write course inner join. I don't write the full query because I don't have enough space here. Instructor. Or if I just type, for example, from course, comma, instructor. So let's say my query is select star from course join instructor, or select star from course inner join instructor, or select star from course comma instructor. These three are all the same, right? They all refer to inner join. And what does that mean? It means it doesn't accept null in neither of these tables. What does that mean? It means we do not accept courses that do not have instructor yet. Okay? So if you have some courses in your course table for which in the instructor table is empty or null, you will not see that result in your join result. Okay? And similarly, you cannot see any instructor if they are not teaching any course yet. Okay? So this type of join, inner join, only return all the common values. So you will see something like this. Like here you have, let's say, instructor ID and course ID, right? And you don't have any null here. For example, you have instructor ID 1 with course ID 3421, right? Or for example, instructor ID 2 with 3401 and so on. But you don't see, for example, let's say instructor ID 3 is not teaching any course yet, okay? You don't get this. Or if you have a course, let's say course 4, course 12, that doesn't have any instructor yet, you will not see this, okay? So the inner join meaning is this, okay? Inner join means you won't have any courses if they don't have instructor yet. You won't get any instructor if they are not teaching any courses yet. And that is meaning of this sentence, right? Not allowing null in join fields. If missing, it is dropped. It means it just doesn't show this, okay? And this is the result that you'll see. Now, the other type of join, left join. So if I'm using left join, now again I'm using the same table just to keep it more clear. So again, let's say I'm writing select a star from, and here it is the same. So the query is not complete. I'm just wanted to explain different types of from. Now again the same two table. I'm writing course left join or left outer join, doesn't matter. They're the same. And instructor left join course left outer join instructor. Now what does this mean? Everything, when it is left join, everything from the left table, okay? Everything, even if the corresponding value in the other table is not, that's okay, okay? So that means, what is your left table here? The table on the left side of join, right? Here, left, right. So the left table is course. So when you are using left join with this order, it means everything from the course table, even if the corresponding value in the instructor table is not, okay? So everything from course, even if the instructor is not. What does that mean? All the courses, even if those courses do not have any instructors yet. So in the result, you should be able to see, let's say you have course ID and instructor ID, and you have 3421 with instructor ID 1, 3401 instructor ID 2, and then you have course 4412 for which you do not have any instructor. Is this allowed? Everyone. Yes, this is allowed, right? So this is okay. How about this one? Now we have an instructor that is not teaching any course yet. Is this allowed? No. It's not a right join. It's a left join. Everything from course, even if the instructor is null, but not if the course is null, right? Not all the courses. So we don't accept null in the course. So this is not allowed here. This is allowed here. Okay? Now, yes.
It is only allowed if you use full outer join, I guess, to show both of them are null. You show it on the table.
When we say outer join, right? Oh, full outer
Full
join, yes, exactly. And then let's talk about right join. So we've talked about inner join, left join, and now right join. So what is the difference? So you should be able to know what is right join right now, right? Right join means everything from the right table, even if the corresponding value in the other table doesn't exist. Now I keep the order the same. So if I write course, course right join, so I can also make it in. Just wanted to zoom in. So course right join or right outer join. Right outer join is the same. Is right. So it means everything from the course table, even if there is no, everything from the instructor, even if there is no course person, right? So now you have, let's say, course ID and instructor ID. So we want everything from instructors, so all the instructors listed here, right? Even if those instructors are not teaching any courses yet. For example, we have this, and then this instructor is not teaching anything yet, right? And then we have, for example, another instructor teaching some other things, and so on. So in this case, if it is a right join between course and instructor, it means everything from the right table, even if the corresponding value in the other table is null. So this is allowed, but we are not allowed to write, for example, a course if the instructor value is null. So this is not allowed. Okay? Now, full outer join, as your friend mentioned, allows null in both. So if you want to get everything from both tables. So you want to include all courses, even if there are no instructors for them. And also you want to include all instructors, even if they are not teaching any courses yet. If that is the case, you use full outer join. Okay? Now, can I say, let's say, select star from course left join instructor is the same as instructor right join course? Yes, right? So it's the same as instructor right join course. Because if I write instructor right join course, it means everything from course, from the right table, which is the course, even if the instructor value is not. Is exactly the same as course left join instructor, because here again you say everything from course, even if instructor is not. So there are different ways. Even in exam, you may, depending on which table you write first, you can use either right join or left join, right? So joins are clear. Now union. Union combining the result set of two or more select statements. So when we join actually tables, what happens? So in the result, do you see more number of rows? Or no, we don't, right? So when we are joining tables, we will actually see more columns, right? Because we are getting columns from both tables. So two tables with common values, combining data into new columns, right? This is what is happening when we join tables. So for example, I may get instructor name, instructor address, phone, everything from the instructor table and everything from the course table. So this can be very wide table if I want to select everything in join. Now, the difference with union is that union is combining data into new rows. That is, you have your table 1 here, and then table 2 comes after this. So you don't have more number of columns, but more number of rows. Now, based on this, can you tell me what should be the condition to be able to use union between these two tables? Yeah.
One should be safety.
One condition is that there should be same number of columns, right? Because the result is a table. So you cannot have table 1 with, let's say, 3 columns and table 2 with, 5 columns. Can we have such table? No. So the number of columns should be the same. And what else? How about data type of the columns? Should be the same.
I was about to mention, like, it should be the same, right? Like, it
Yeah.
has to be, if it's like student name, student ID, course ID, has to be the exact same on the second thing.
Exactly. So this is another condition. So here's an example. For example, you want to find all employees with less than 3 years employment and applicants with more than 14 years education. Okay? So let's say you have this staff or employee table with this information. And then you also have another applicant table where you have, for example, years of education. In both tables, we have names. The first one is a staff name, the second one is applicant name, right? And then first table, again, we have a column year, which is the same as column year here, right? So they have the same number of columns, they have the same data type, and then you can use union. So these are the conditions, same number of columns and the same data type. One last thing, and then we're done. So this is about correlation variables. So, for example, you want to find employees whose salary is greater than the salary of managers in the same department. How can you do that? Let's think about this. Using the staff table that we have employee name there, we have salary in the staff table. We also have job manager there. We have department information. So everything is in the staff table. Do we need to join? Use join? Do we need to use join between staff table and organization table to answer this query? I don't need you to write the query, but I would expect you to answer this question. Do we need to join staff table with organization table to answer this query? No. No, we don't need that, right? What column from organization do we need? Nothing, right? Nothing. So we only need a staff. How can you write this? How can you compare employee salary with their manager's salary in one table? That is when we talk about correlation variables or joining tables with Excel. Okay? So in this case, we want to compare the salary of staff with salary of employees, but salary of their managers. But they are both staff, right? So this does make sense, for example, in scenarios like this, when we have a table with staff and our staff have, for example, 2 roles, right? Could be like normal employees and some of them could be manager, and then you want to compare their salaries together. So you want to select the staff name and salary from staff and join it to the staff. Now, how can you do that? You have to give it different names to be able to join them, right? Join a table with itself. So you write, for example, from staff as X and then staff as Y. Now, one of these X and Y one of them should refer to a regular employee, one of them should refer to manager. Why? Because at the end you wanna compare employee salary with manager salary, right? So let's say X salary greater than Y salary, where Y is manager and X is not manager, right? You have the job role in the staff table. So if you look back at the staff table, you had a staff ID, you had a staff name, and then you had also a column for job type, and you had salary. So everything that you want is in the staff table. Some employees have manager role. Let's say this is not manager. And then it is manager and not manager. And then you want to compare these salaries, right, with the ones that are not each employees with the manager. So the way that it works is that you can use correlation variables like this. So similar to normal join, because we ask in the same department, we use department number to join them. And then here comes your condition. So for example, you assign Y job as manager and X job as not manager. You can assign anything. Can I use A here? Yes. You can use any variable instead of X, any name that you want. And you can assign manager to X, Y, A, B, or anything that you want. Is this clear? Do you have any questions?
For the outer clauses, the bottom clause is final.
For outer, yes.
So,
So whatever you have between inner, outer,
I was gonna ask my question, is there a way to get everything except
you write, for example, you write select star
circle and the inner bit of that all right? Is there a way to get
not like one but I feel like wait a second. I mean,